Help me reach 2,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I used to believe that love was enough. That if I gave everything I had, my time, my loyalty, my heart, it would be returned in equal measure. But that illusion died the night she humiliated me in front of everyone. Her name was Samantha, and for 5 years I thought she was my partner in every sense of the word. We shared an apartment, weekend routines, and countless small moments that seemed ordinary, but I treasured. I believed that within those 4 walls I was safe, that she would never deliberately hurt me where everyone could see. The party was for a colleague's promotion. I arrived early wearing the suit I knew she liked, a quiet pride swelling in me. I thought she'd notice. I thought she'd smile at me the way she once did, the way that made me feel like I was the only person in the room. But the night started unraveling almost immediately. Samantha's friends were already there when I walked in, laughing loudly, the kind of laughter that made my chest tighten. She spotted me and waved, a smile curling her lips. First it seemed normal, but then she whispered something to her friend, something I couldn't hear at first, but I soon realized what she was doing. It began with a joke, harmless or so it seemed. Then it escalated. She started pointing out my quirks, exaggerating them, turning them into punchlines for everyone to see. My job, my habits, even my way of speaking became fodder for their amusement. The laughter that erupted around me wasn't warmth. It was cruelty dressed as fun. I froze, a cold knot forming in my stomach. I wanted to shout, to correct her, to defend myself. But every instinct told me not to. If I reacted, I'd only become the character they wanted me to be, the fool in the corner. And I realized slowly that her enjoyment came not from the joke, but from my humiliation. For a few moments I stayed in place, smiling weakly as if I were in on it, pretending it didn't cut through me like a blade. Her laughter mixed with the others, filling the room with a kind of mockery that I'd never experienced before. And then I felt it, the moment I decided this had gone too far. Without saying a word I turned. My chair scraped softly against the floor, and I walked toward the door. The chatter continued, oblivious to the storm building behind me. Every step I took was deliberate, measured. I wasn't running. I wasn't panicking. I was walking away, and in that walk I reclaimed a part of myself I hadn't realized she had been stealing. As I walked out I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, but I didn't look back. Samantha's laughter faltered mid-sentence, and I heard a sharp intake of breath, that momentary pause that told me she realized something had shifted. The crowd around her continued to laugh, unaware that the balance had already changed. Outside, the cool night air hit me like a cleansing wave. I took a deep breath, letting it fill my lungs and steady my racing heart. It wasn't just anger that coursed through me. It was clarity. For years I'd tolerated small humiliations, brushed off subtle insults, and convinced myself that it was part of love. But tonight proved that it wasn't love anymore. It was control disguised as amusement, and I was done letting her have it. The walk home felt longer than usual, every step punctuated by flashes of that room, her smile twisting as the others laughed at me. I thought about how many times I had swallowed my pride for her, how many nights I had stayed silent when her words cut deeper than any weapon could. The realization was bitter. She didn't respect me. Not then. Not ever. And respect, I finally understood, was something I could no longer negotiate. I didn't call her that night. I didn't text, didn't explain, didn't beg for acknowledgement. I simply went home, closed the door behind me, and let the silence speak. In that silence I found a strange kind of power. I didn't need to confront her. The truth had already spoken. And the next day when she texted, "Where did you go? Why didn't you come back?" I replied with a single word, "Gone." The days that followed were filled with tension I hadn't anticipated. Samantha tried to reach me at work, sent me messages that alternated between apology and deflection, attempted to make me feel guilty for walking away. I read every message without replying, letting the burden of uncertainty weigh on her instead of me. And with every unanswered note, her confidence, once so vibrant, began to waver. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. We ran into some mutual friends at a cafe, and she was there expecting me to rejoin her, expecting me to play the same part one had for years. I walked past her without a glance. Her smile, once so sure, disappeared instantly. The room seemed to shift, and for the first time, She realized that her laughter no longer held power over me. She tried to call my name, her voice small and uncertain, but I kept walking. It wasn't a dramatic scene. There was no shouting, no confrontation. Just the quiet, undeniable fact that I had taken control of my own dignity. And watching her face fall, seeing the realization dawn that I was no longer a part of her performance, gave me a satisfaction that words could never capture. That night, I reflected on everything that had led to that moment. I thought about the subtle digs she had made over the years, the private jokes that were never really funny, the way she had always measured my worth against someone else's standards. For a long time, I had believed that love meant enduring, that patience would eventually soften her. But patience only revealed the truth. She never intended to see me as an equal. The next few days I maintained my distance. I focused on my own life, my own projects, my own sanity. I stopped waiting for her approval, stopped anticipating her moods, stopped pretending her opinion defined me. In doing so, I began to notice something remarkable. A sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. It was subtle at first, in small victories like choosing where to eat, what movie to watch, how to spend my evenings, and then it became profound. I had reclaimed my life. Samantha, on the other hand, began to unravel. She reached out repeatedly, once trying to corner me in the hallway of our building, her voice shaky and demanding. "Why are you ignoring me?" "I was just joking," she insisted. I looked at her calmly and said, "Jokes aren't supposed to hurt. Yours did." The realization hit her harder than any argument could have. Her eyes filled with regret, her posture slumped, and for the first time, she understood that I would not be manipulated back into submission. Weeks later, I heard through friends that she tried explaining her behavior to them, framing it as a misunderstanding, a harmless jest. But those who knew me understood, and her audience now understood, that her mockery was deliberate. They saw how she had pushed someone who had always been loyal, who had always cared, to walk away without a word. I didn't gloat. I didn't taunt her. I simply lived my life, quietly and unapologetically. Every time she attempted to regain the control she once held, she was met with the calm refusal of a man who knew his worth. And that, more than anything, was the consequence she hadn't anticipated. In the end, it wasn't revenge that healed me, it was choice. Choosing to walk away, choosing to silence the chaos, choosing myself over the person who had mocked me for far too long. And as I moved forward, I realized something profound. The moment we stop letting others define our value is the moment we reclaim our power. Samantha's smile disappeared that night, but mine, for the first time in years, had returned. It wasn't about victory over her. It was about victory over fear, over humiliation, over the part of me that once tolerated being less than I deserved. And that, I knew, was something no one could ever take away.